what Unreal are doing with MetaHumans is really making a difference. It's so powerful now that you can pretty much do anything with them. The difference between like a 980, which was just a few years ago, and what we have now with like the 3090 Ti's in terms of like computing power.
I wish I could find one. No, I'm in Loughborough. I'm in Loughborough.
Okay.
Finishing up the final year of my masters. So yeah, it's Loughborough's a bit different to London side and everything like that. But it's been alright, to be fair. I'm looking forward to getting into the studio in London when that's all set up. Because I don't know, I like work from home, but I don't know if it's for me exactly. Like, what about you? Is it you like prefer work from home, or is it like more of an office kind of vibe?
I was definitely previously in the camp where I much preferred the office and the atmosphere as the office. And
Yeah,
um, so when the pandemic first hit and we all went fully remote, then that was definitely a struggle for me, like many people. And I think
yeah,
we all had to adjust to working from home. Um, and I think that it took at least 6 to 9 months for me to really find my feet in that sense and find a rhythm and a space where I was comfortable to work and um, get used to the quiet. Because when you're in the middle of a busy office, 20 or 30 people, then there's a certain amount of kind of ambient noise and kind of energy, and you feed off of that. And I think that was the biggest adjustment, at least from my point of view. Um, but now, having worked remotely for a couple of years, it would be difficult to go back. I enjoy the space that I have and the time that I have and the balance. And I think now I'm actually more productive from home than I ever was in the office. So yeah,
yeah. That's interesting, to be fair. Like, I can sort of get that because there's like, although there's, I guess you have more distractions. Some would say at home, but you don't really have the distractions of like hustle and bustle and other people when you're in the office space. So I can understand how being at home might be more like relaxing. I found actually like streaming everything. So we've been doing quite a it's kind of different compared to how normal game dev or like dev in general operates. We do a very like transparent and open kind of development style. So your traditional games like your Rockstar, your EA, all those games will kind of like they wait to like E3 or something like special release launch to tell you about any game they released and they do it kind of the way of like build up hype and then maybe drop maybe a couple hints and then they'll actually announce the game and then they'll be so and so far in development or like coming in 2024 or something. Whereas because it's very like much a community project, like you need the funding from the backers and everything like that. It's kind of we decided to go with a very like, transparent and open, like everyone can see like what we're working on, when we're working on it, how we're doing things, how we're approaching it. So we stream I stream pretty much every time I'm working on the program. I just stream what I do. And then people, which is sort of like a chat where people are chatting to you while you're working and whatnot. But one thing I found is like you can't really procrastinate because there's like people watching you, and like even if there's like only one or two people, you still feel bad because people can like watch you procrastinate. I don't know. It's weird to say because it's like if I was on my phone per se while I'm working, it's awkward to be like streaming whilst on your phone because you're not like engaging with them. So it
yeah,
causes me like if I stream for like 4 or 5 hours, I'll just be like fully engrossed, just like chatting to people whilst also working rather than like being distracted around the thing. So no, it's weird. I do find working from home is actually has its benefits. I've been enjoying it, to be fair. It's been nice.
no, I like that strategy. That keeps you disciplined.
Yeah, 100%. So I've got a question for you. So obviously you said like Neutral Digital, like you kind of initially it was about architectural like animations and create experiences at that, and then it kind of shifted into aviation. Because I've seen some of the awesome stuff you did with, like British Airways and Qatar Airlines. Like if you guys haven't seen it, check it out like neutral.digital. They made some like really cool like 3D and like immersive experiences where you can like basically be in like first class and then sort of check out that whole kind of thing. So if you've not seen it, check it out. What was the inspiration? Because you're a founder of this, so you haven't come on, you created this yourself. What was the inspiration to be like, okay, this is what we want to create, and this is like, where did you see a market for it? Were you like, there's nothing like this really exists, or was it like, you know, I enjoy the animation and 3D side of like development. This is something I want to go into. Like, how did it all come about?
I think that my co-founder Christian, he has a background in architecture, so the original guise of the business was very much formed around his passion, which was architecture. And I came into the business a little bit later, and then the move to travel and mobility. I think the studio was traveling a lot, and there was lots of observations. And one of the observations was that in-flight entertainment is quite bad, and it was an area we thought we could help. So we made a call to a particular airline, and we said, we fly you regularly. We think your entertainment system could be improved. Could you include us in the next pitch? And just so happened later on that year, they had a pitch to appoint a new agency to help them redesign their in-flight entertainment system. We won that pitch, and that was our kind of first foot into that space. And I think it just snowballed from there. Through working with that particular airline, we started working with one of the suppliers of the hardware which sits on board. That company is Panasonic Avionics, and they supply the majority of airlines with their hardware. So we started working with Panasonic Avionics, and something interesting happened in that relationship. Is once a year they have an event, and it's in California. It's called Apex, and they have a big booth there. And they'd always annex off a part of the booth, and it was called the cool room. And within the cool room, they would project 2, 3, 4 years ahead and try and give their airline customers kind of a view or a vision of what the future might look like within travel and mobility, kind of in that passenger journey. And because of who they were able to get access to a lot of hardware that didn't hit the consumers for another 2 or 3 years. So we had our hands on things like the Leap motion sensor, Oculus headsets, AR headsets, like a good 1 or 2 years ahead of their launch. And we were tasked with putting something together within this cool room that would kind of wow and excite and give those airlines a view of what the future might look like. So it's kind of like Panasonic's kind of mini offshore R&D lab. And it was great because essentially we had a blank canvas and a blank check just to do something cool. Like, here's a VR headset, here's a blank canvas, here's a check. We'll see you in 6 months, make something cool for us. And that was basically the brief every year. And so much innovation and IP came out of those experiments that we were then able to productize, but also kind of feed other parts of the business. So I guess that was the big kind of moving point for us.
So like, I mean, I guess I'm gonna go into VR. So like you said, VR's been around for a little bit now, like the Oculus Go, Oculus Rift. I think, are they on the Quest 2? That's the latest one. I'm not too sure. Like, what do you think VR is the next big thing, or like, I know it's already. I try to think the Gartner cycle where it was kind of peaked already. Do you think there's more to come from VR, or do you think it's already at its limit right now?
I think we're just at the start, and nowhere near the limits of what's achievable. I think if you think back to where we were just 5 years ago with like DK1 Oculus and what we were able to achieve in terms of with the engines, and you couple that with how quickly the GPU space has moved, and the difference between a 980, which was just a few years ago, and what we have now with like the 3090 Ti's in terms of like computing power.
I wish I could find one.
And that's if you can find one. And if things continue to progress at that speed, and UE5 becomes UE6, like you can only imagine what the future holds. And we have metahumans now, which are almost indistinguishable from real life actors. so we're already at that limit or that point. So I'm really excited to see the future, and I think a big part of that could be cloud computing. So I guess eventually the computing power will be taken away from the headsets. It'll be in the cloud and it'll be streamed down. The pixels will be streamed down, and then there'll be no more barriers.
Yeah. Do you think there's any physical limitations to VR? Like, do you think like having a virtual headset like presents problems in that sense?
Well, we already have inside-out tracking, and I think the current generation of headsets will just continue to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And once you can remove the need to have the onboard computation systems, and you can stream that, then you can make them more heat efficient, which means they get lighter, they get smaller. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see other players enter the space with maybe not VR headsets, maybe they're going to be mixed reality headsets. And, yeah, we've been waiting for Apple's headset for a number of years now. I'm pretty sure they're going to enter the space at some point. But you have some pretty cool stuff happening over at Vario as well. So yeah, the future's exciting, the future's bright, and I think this is just the start.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. VR, because obviously there's a lot of noise going on at the moment, like with Facebook's metaverse, Meta, and everything like that. Like, what are your thoughts on that space? Because I know from the outside looking in, it seems like VR Facebook, pretty much. I know they're presenting it as this whole new reality, new world, but it just seems like Facebook on VR. From my perspective, like, what are your thoughts on the whole thing, kind of what it means?
Yeah, at the moment it seems a little bit shallow, and let's hope it's not just Facebook in VR, and it becomes something a lot bigger and a lot brighter than that, and with slightly more depth. But I think again, this is just the start, and I think we're going to see lots of companies wanting to either build their own metaverses or onboard to other platforms. I'm guessing the biggest platform is going to be the Facebook platform. They are the owners of the headset. They are at the moment pumping the most money into making this work. And Mark Zuckerberg has an ambition to put a VR headset in every home, and I would bet against him.
Yeah, it's true. He's done all right so far. There's not much, yeah. Similar online, I won't drag you for too long because it's always been an hour where you have other busy things to crack with. But similar to the whole metaverse thing, what are your thoughts on? First of all, what are your thoughts on NFTs and this whole explosion of buying NFTs, trading NFTs, investing in NFTs? Like, what are your thoughts on what they are and on them in general?
I never saw this coming. I was quite an early adopter of crypto and quite interested in that space. And NFTs first come along, and I was maybe didn't give it the attention or the focus that it deserved, and I slightly dismissed it. And how quickly it's grown and absolutely exploded is absolutely amazing. And there's certainly a lot of amazing work being created and published in that space, and lots of people earning lots of money as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of a mechanism, it kind of completely makes sense. Like it's kind of obvious that digital art was going to find its kind of home on the blockchain, and it's the perfect way to secure and validate the authenticity of something, which was almost impossible before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this again, it's another space that's only going to grow, I think.
Yeah. So it's weird because I've basically played games a lot growing up. Like this whole like collectors and collectible thing. This was like never new to me. Like I remember playing games like CS:GO, or I used to play like Dungeon Defenders on Xbox and whatnot. You could like get items, and then this could literally like translate across to like real world value. I think there's a game called EVE Online. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this literally like operates like a real life system. Like the ships are worth thousands of pounds in the game, like in real life. So like the whole like digital like thing being worth like money in real life, and like well, like for me, I wasn't like super surprised because I was like, oh, well, like this is similar to stuff like CS:GO and these skins and collectibles and all that. So like and you know what I mean, I've partook in that kind of environment. Like I've played games where I've had collectors things and sold them on, like even made money from it and done that like continuously. So I was like, oh well, yeah, this is again, this is something that I've seen, I've done myself, like this, because it make like initially you're like, why would anyone care about skin? But then you're like, well, I've played games where I'm like, I want to have a skin, like, and you know what I mean. Um, the only place where I'm like, is like obviously the skins that's not because they're stored like centrally. Those skins weren't like ever reproducible. Like I could never have like in the game, or at least in that virtual universe, like I wouldn't see other people with the skin. Now, with like, the only thing that bothers me with that digital art, I feel like a sense that it's gone away from the art itself and just to the monetary value of the art. So like when I see people talking about like NFTs, which are really just a receipt for the art that you paid for and own and whatnot, I don't see a sense of it's about the art rather than it's about the hype and just owning and saying you own this and this is going to appreciate and value. Like I see people that don't appreciate art necessarily, but are just investors being in the space. And I don't know if that's necessarily beneficial to like for artists and things. I don't know.
That's the same for traditional art as well. Is that
yeah, true.
I see what you mean about the creation of the art. That maybe the intention or the passion to create an artistic piece isn't the core motivation when the publishing platform is digital and it's an NFT, and maybe the motivation might have switched slightly to kind of monetary value of it rather than the artistic value of it.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I'm curious to see where it goes. Honestly, like next like 5 years or so, I wonder where this whole space will be with metaverse.